Okay, hello folks, hello sugar ones, welcome to season 27, Hunter tier list. I'm gonna get the Hunter tier list out first before the Survivors tier list. But anyways, onto the tier list we go. We are gonna have 5 tier lists as usual. But before that, right, I want everyone to think of a scenario. So this is just to open everything up. Imagine this tier list was for 500 games in with this character, with a certain character, and then you're in like unicorn. You're in unicorn, yeah, you're in unicorn. That's what I'm just gonna say. So you imagine the first hunter was Ember, and then our scenario is 500 games in, and then you're in Cyclops, you're against unicorn survivors. Or maybe the next hero would be Smiley Face, 500 games in, and you're against unicorn, survivors, and you're a Cyclops hunter. But anyways, onto the tier list we go. We have Night Watch Takeover, Nutshell, S tier meta. Next will be Niche. For Niche, it simply means once you have the skills, you can almost always win. Like, you can win like 75% of the time. That's Niche. Tie Guarantee is just Tie Guarantee. Doable but hard means that you can win 25% of the time. It takes quite a bit of skills. And then for our last tier, it'll be Character Issues. This simply just means, regardless of how good you are with your hunter main, they just get hard countered no matter what happens. So this is going to be for our tier list, and now let's move on towards the first hunter then, shall we? First hunter will be Ember. Ember will be part of the characters issue tier. Why, you may ask? Well, as you all may know, in all honesty, Ember has low pursuit but has high control and high chair guarding. Now, why am I saying Ember is a part of character issues? Well, number one reason is because of his Infernal Soul, in which whenever he summons his phantoms, right, sometimes the phantoms don't even chase after the survivors you're chasing. Or imagine you put a phantom in front of a pallet, sometimes the phantom doesn't even break the pallet when you want to. So that's like one of the biggest issues with Ember. It's really just a phantom AI. But of course, with Ember, many of you may argue, hey, I have good map control though. I have dolls, I have 2 dolls. I have 1 doll when I open phase 1, when I down a survivor or get a first hit when I have Insolence, and I'll have my second one after the second rescue. Well, yes, you may have map control then, but the biggest problem with Ember is, even though you're 500 games in, when you're in Unicorn, or even like just any tier in general, chasing after a survivor is very hard for a Ember main, unless they make like a huge crucial mistake, like giving you like 1 hit early game for free, and then like you just blink them down in 60 seconds. In a typical nutshell, that type of scenario is very rare, unless like you're playing against a doctor or something. But like, if you think about it, even Gardener counters Ember, even Lawyer counters Ember because of the minimap, even Explorer counters Ember. So for Ember, you don't have that much of a great chase, but you have a really good map control. Well, I would say his map control is more or less decent, and then his map control is more or less decent. His chair guarding is very strong, but there's a difference between map control and cipher control. With map control, yes, you're able to control the map. He has okay map control, but he has barely any cipher control. Cipher control only comes when, the dolls come and annoy you, but also at the same time with the map control issue is the fact that you can't survivors can't dismantle the dolls, even if you put, the Infernal Souls on them. So for Ember, the biggest issue within him really is it's really just the fact that it's going to be very hard for you to blink down a survivor, and even if you do manage to blink down a survivor, you probably won't have any embers on you. Even if you do have 1 ember, it gets countered by a mercenary. That's, the biggest issue with it all. And then sometimes your ember just acts very weirdly. Number 2, even if you get someone down ASAP, survivors can't just sell. And after survivors sell against a Ember, there's nothing much you can do. Your chase is still bad. You may have a doll, but that doll is only going to help you to get from A to B. It's not going to help you. It's going to help you move closer to a survivor, but it won't help you down a survivor ASAP. That's also another issue. Issue number 3 is, when Ember throws out a phantom, survivor can literally just instant rescue. Simply because of the fact that when you summon phantom, I think phantom stays still for like 2 seconds or 3 seconds, and during that time survivors can definitely rescue and force you to hit them. So that's also another issue with Phantom. And the fourth issue is there are so many rescuers now that counter Ember. So we number one have Journalist, we have First Officer, we also have Journalist, First Officer, Mercenary. I think those three are like the main counters, but then you also have a Psychologist. You know, you also have a Psychologist, which is kind of an oofus doofus moment there for you. If Acrobat comes rescue, they can literally fireball you. Like, there's so many survivors that counter Ember, it's kind of not worth it. So then, like, even if you're 500 games in and you're against Unicorn survivors, the chances of you winning, I say, would be 10%. 1 out of 10 matches you will win. And it's very hard for you to win. And the chances of you tying, let's say, it's like 20%, 25%. Like 1 out of 4 matches you can probably tie. But for Ember in general, unless you play a lot of games, even if you play a lot of games in, if you're against Survivor with the same skill level, you will always be beaten out. Because like, even if you think about it, right, oh, I down Survivor in like 2 minutes, 3 Cypher machines pop, and I down a Survivor. Well, the way Survivors can, you know, and then you treat Infernal Souls on you. Well, you can put a soul on the doll and you can put a Phantom down, but all what a Survivor has to do is to touch the doll. And then, or they can double rescue, because if you force a survivor to double rescue, then that means the Cypher machines are enough, or they can just harass you. Now you may think, oh wait, no, sorry, harassing actually gives me embers. Well, that's one case scenario, but like, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter if you have like Infernal Soul or not, if you have your embers or not, when like there's only 2 Cyphers remaining and there's 1 survivor harassing and they're extending the kite for so long. So in a nutshell, for Ember, his chase is shockingly bad, so it's really bad. If I rate his chase from 1 to 100, his chase is like a 10, and then when his presence opens up, it's like a 25. So his chase is not good at all. His chair camp, I'll give him a 90 out of 100. His chair camp, no, not 90. I'll give him a 70 out of 100 for his chair camp, and that's only when he has embers. If he doesn't have embers, it's like 0. His chair camp is literally 0. And his map control, I give it a 40, and his Cypher control, I give it a 20. A 20 because of the fact that will the dolls or will the embers go towards the survivor near a Cypher machine? But even if they do, if it's a doll that goes near the Cypher machine, they can just dismantle the doll. So for Ember, in all honesty, he's a part of character issues. Now, next on the tier list, it'll be Smiley Face. Smiley Face will be doable but hard. Smiley Face, I've been saying this throughout all tier list. Smiley Face, there will be 2 guaranteed spots in which rocket launchers will be available. They literally buff Smiley Face that there's going to be 2 areas in which they'll have the rocket modification parts, and then they also buff the fact that there will be extra, you know, a little bit more modification parts on the field, just so you know Smiley Face can play the long game. But Smiley Face is doable but hard simply because he needs to slug to win. He genuinely speaking, his playstyle is literally slug to win. But he's also very hard to win because of character issues as well, but he's still doable but hard. Smiley Face, just to cancel one of his rocket dashes, in a nutshell, if you're in a good kiting area, just pop down the pallet so that he can't really land a rocket on you. If you're like a stun character, like think about Prisoner. If you have 1 stun, you can cancel 1 rocket. If you have 1 stun, you can cancel 1 rocket. The characters literally that counter Smiley Face, I'll just name some of it off for you. The first one, you have Magician, you have Magician, you have Coordinator, you have Priestess, you have Perfumer, you have Seer, Prospector, Enchantress, Acrobat, Barmaid, Postman kinda does, but that depends. And then Entomologist counters, Prisoner counters, Batter counters. Psycho doesn't counter, but Psycho can tank extra hits. And then who else? Let me see. Antiquarian also counters. So there's quite a lot of counters for him, but also at the same time you can think like, okay, there's extra rocket modification parts. They spawn in 2 guaranteed spawns, which is very nice for Smiley Face, to be honest with you, which is why he's doable but hard. For Smiley Face himself, he has high chase. He has high chase. I'll rate it like at a 90. I'll rate it at 85. The rest of the 15 is up to the player's skill on whether on whether if the player can drive or not. You know, just drive with the, you know, just dash around with the rocket. And the other, like, so 10 is up to the player, and then the other missing 5 is really just the survivor, right? If it counters you or not. because I listed quite a bit of survivors that counter Smiley Face. But also for Smiley Face, his chair combo I'll give him a decent 50, because you can sometimes guarantee a double down, but it's usually 50-50 depending on like the rescuer. But also at the same time, survivors can rebound kite a Smiley Face if there is a double down situation like that. Against Smiley Face, you can also sell. So selling against Smiley Face is genuinely like you can sell it against almost against like every other hunter, but like after you sell against Smiley Face, survivors will have more than enough time to rotate into good kiting areas to counter you. So let me give you an example. So let's say we're in Moonlit River Park and then like you down somewhere near tents. Well, survivors can spawn near first stop, survivors can spawn near fourth stop, survivors can spawn near like the double pallets near the working carousel, survivors can spawn near two-story, survivors can spawn near God Kite. There are quite a bit of areas for survivors to be in to do the second kite, but he's still doable but hard. Now, I haven't really talked about Smiley Face Pursuit, Chair Camp. Well, I did talk about Pursuit and Chair Camp. His map control is a solid 35 out of 100, simply because he can roam around the map quite hard. But like, once he... Well, you know what? No, I'll give him a 70. His map control is 70 out of 100. A bit similar to his chase, but you know, he needs to expend like one of his rocket modifications to do that, and like he needs to be very careful with his driving as well with the rocket, which is why like I'm giving it a 70 instead of an 80. His map pressure is just a 70, and his cipher control is a 0. He has 0 cipher control. So yeah, you can sell against a Smiley Face. There's quite a bit of counters to Smiley Face as well, and for Smiley Faces in general, I will be uploading like Japan Koas. I will be uploading IJLs as well with a Smiley Face who down a professor in 60 seconds, but literally got rebound kited so hard because of a harasser and because of body blocking. So for Smiley Face, tying with him, I would give him a 40 out of 100. You have a 40% to tie, and then the chances of you winning would be, I would say, 15 to 20%, but you need to slug for that, which is very hard. Which is why Smiley Face is doable but hard. You genuinely need to slug for that win. So yeah, that's that for Smiley Face. Moving on, next will be GameKeeper. I'm gonna put GameKeeper on doable but hard as well. GameKeeper got a few recent good adjustments, which is like a mini buff for him. GameKeeper can now hook onto bees. GameKeeper can also now hook onto magician's illusions. I think GameKeeper can also hook onto flywheel if I'm not wrong. Mark me, you know what, I can actually just double check here real quick. Can he hook onto... you know what, I actually don't think he can hook onto flywheel survivors, but overall GameKeeper is not too bad. He has high chase. I'll give his chase a solid 60 early game, and then slowly going up to 85 late game, because like you can literally spam his hooks and chase after a survivor. For GameKeeper himself, his set of skills, he has a hook which it can hook survivors towards him if he manages to land it on the survivors, or he can hook near towards obstacles to catch up towards the survivors. Early game he can hook twice, and then when he opens max presence, he can hook as many times as he wants, but within 2 seconds after the first 2 hooks, within 3 seconds after the first 2 hooks. Mark me wrong if I'm wrong on that. But once he opens first presence, he can deal 50% damage, which is not too bad in all honesty if you think about it. Against a mercenary, against a psychologist, it's really honestly not too bad. Also with GameKeeper, he has traps as well. He also does have traps in which he can literally lock off, let's say, you know, runes in hospital, maybe some areas in graveyard, and some just really decent kiting areas like shack. So for GameKeeper himself, he's not a bad character. You can definitely win with him. His pursuit, as I said, 65 early game, 60 early game, let's say 60 out of 100 early game, and then 85 late game, because it's a bit easier to do compared to Clown. For Clown, you need a little bit more skills. And then his chair camp, I would give him a solid 35 out of 100, because the chances of you terror shocking a survivor with the hook, it's not that high, but I would say 35%. If you're 500 games in with GameKeeper, you probably know what you're doing as well. Alongside with that, his map pressure is 0. His map pressure, no, you know what, I'll give his map pressure a solid a solid 65 as well, because he doesn't have map pressure until late game. He doesn't really have map pressure until late game. His cipher pressure is a solid 20. Why am I saying 20? Because if it's the last cipher machine, you can at least put, you can at least put traps down to lock the cipher machine. So then, like, if the survivor comes to try prime the cipher, at least they have to remove the traps first before they touch the cipher machine, which is why I'm only giving you a solid 20. Or did I say 35? I don't remember, but it's a solid 20. GameKeeper's pursuit is high. His map control is only like 20, honestly. Only 20, because like I would even say 10, because sometimes when you put traps in certain areas, survivors can literally see and just not take the traps or flywheel the traps, which is also another problem for GameKeeper. But for GameKeeper, in all honesty, pursuit is high. It's not bad early to late game. It slowly snowballs up. But of course, against a GameKeeper, you can sell against him, which is one of the biggest issues for GameKeeper at the end. It's the biggest issues for just these type of characters overall. So yeah, for GameKeeper, it's doable but hard. The chances of you tying, I would give you similar to Clown, 40, and then the chances of you winning, I would put it maybe a little bit up to 30. Compared to Clown, who was 25, 30 out of 100. But yeah, that's that for GameKeeper. Next will be Ripper. Ripper has gotten a really good adjustment. But he does take a lot of skills as well. 500 games in for Ripper. Let's just say his early game pursuit is shocking. Very, very bad. But slowly after opening phase 1, it goes up to, I'll give you like a 60 out of 100 once phase 1 opens. For early game Rippers, he only has one Foggy Blade, so his pursuit is not that good overall. He also does get countered, and if the survivor does manage to contain you for 60 seconds, you're most likely going to get cipher rushed. But for Ripper mains overall, what they do is they focus on Foggy Blading. They focus on predicting where the survivors go for a Foggy Blade. But of course, with most of the survivors who have 3 items and can basically either pull distance or just deny your Foggy Blade, it's going to be very hard for you to be able to land that. For Ripper, early game he gains 1 Foggy Blade immediately, unlike BQ where there's an 8-second cooldown, but after the first Foggy Blade there's a 15-second cooldown. Now, on the off chance you get 2 really good Foggy Blades on towards the survivors, the chance of you tying is still very high, right? The chance of you winning is low, but tying is pretty darn high. But that comes in with the issue of that's only if Ripper lands 2 really good Foggy Blades, right? Or even 1 Foggy Blade, 1 blink down. That's the very rare case scenario, very, very rare case scenario in which when survivors pallet camp you, it's just annoying as hell to deal with. For Ripper himself, because of his newest adjustment, right, he can literally counter harassers now. Now, what do I mean by that, you may ask? When Ripper downs a survivor or kills a survivor, there will be a small fog on the ground surrounding the survivors, in which Ripper can literally just step into it and go invisible. Now, this helps Ripper to basically chase the harassers away. And we all know when Ripper is in stealth mode, when the Ripper is invisible, he moves faster, and then like survivors doesn't really know where he is. Well, they can judge it by the red light, but it's still hard to judge. And like when there are harassers coming to harass you, it's kind of really annoying for harassers to harass you because they don't know where you are most of the time. And like you can usually juke the survivors into thinking, oh, I'm gonna pick up the survivors, but instead hit the survivors. So like for Ripper, I say he's above all these 3. He's still hard to play. To tie against him, you need to land really good Foggy Blades, right? Or like, for chair camp, well, he still does have a chair camp potential as well with the Foggy Blade, but still kind of hard to land. It's still kind of hard to land, especially when like Flywheel also counters Ripper's Foggy Blades, which is a little bit of an unfortunate situation, but it is what it is for that. But yeah, honestly, overall, once you have good tempo, once you have like your fast down, if they decide to sell, it's gonna be really hard for you to get a second down. That's my personal opinion, which is why he's doable but hard. For Ripper himself, the chance of him tying is, I would say, 40. The chances of you tying is probably 40/50, 40 to 50, and then the chances of you winning is probably around 30. similar to GameKeeper as well. But because of his recent adjustment, it just makes him easier against harassers. Right, it generally speaking just makes him easier against harassers, but that's honestly about it. So Ripper's still about the same. Moving on, we will be having Soul Weaver. Soul Weaver will be considered a tie guarantee for me simply because of the fact that she can shop around. Now for Soul Weaver, if we all do know, Soul Weaver can gain web threads throughout the game. And of course for Soul Weaver, she can basically walk around the map for 60 seconds and until she finds a survivor she wants to chase, and then can do, you know, a triple web stack, hit the survivors and then blink down, which is basically a guaranteed tie tempo for Soul Weaver. Now, why is Soul Weaver guaranteed tie as well if it's very similar to, you know, Ripper, GameKeeper and Smiley Face? Well, that's simply because if you sell against a Soul Weaver can gain web threads. What does this mean? This simply just means that Soul Weaver, by the time you finish selling the survivors, Soul Weaver will have around 120 to 150 web threads. Now, per each web thread, it's around 15 to 20 energy if I'm not wrong, but let's just say it's 20. We'll fit 150 divided by 20, 7 web threads. 7 web threads. That's basically, you can basically speed up to the survivor 2 times with 3 web threads and get a hit on them. So second kiting against a Soul Weaver is genuinely speaking very hard, but you also have to think, okay, she gains 120 to 150 web threads, but also looking for survivor also takes time. So by the time she finds the survivor she wants, she probably has like 160 to 180 web threads. So like for Soul Weaver herself, she's basically stacked on the movement speed boost. She also has a spit as well. So, you know, a slow debuff and then, you know, a fast movement speed. Soul Weaver, that's really good for you. For Soul Weaver's pursuit, I will give her 70. 70. And that's only throughout the whole game. I'll only give her 70 because, like, it really depends on the player's skills as well, whether they can do a triple web threading a row or not. But also Soul Weaver does have chair camp by having double spit. Now what does this mean? For Soul Weaver, after getting 4 hits, you basically gain like 90%. We basically gain like, how do I say? Yeah, you basically gain like 90% presence, in which your next spit is going to be an immediate presence 2 open, which means you can immediately spit again. That means that you can double spit, which means it's a half health, and then they can immediately get down or fail rescue. Which is why for Soul Weaver, even if you do have a bad early game, there's still a chance for you to be able to fail rescue. Even if as a Soul Weaver, if you have a good early game and they decide to sell, the chances of you tying is still very, very, very goddamn high. Right? Which is why, so like, I'll mark Soul Weaver's chair camp with 55. I'll give him a 55 to 60 chair camp because the only chair camp she really has is a double spit, but also, you know, with 3 web threads, her attack recovery animation is a little bit faster as well, which is why she also has a chance for a double hit strategy. So that's not too bad for Soul Weaver. That's honestly speaking not too bad for Soul Weaver. So as I was saying as well, Soul Weaver's pursuit is a solid 70 out of 100. Soul Weaver's chair camp is a 55 to 60%. Soul Weaver's map control is I would give her 35. Because, you know, in some web threads areas, you kind of have to get rid of the webs, or else Soul Weaver can just reuse them, recycle them, and then get another survivors down ASAP. So survivors are forced to get rid of the webs in certain areas. And then Cypher control is 0. Just 0. She has no Cypher control at all, to be fair with you on that point. Because, like, her web threads aren't unlimited, so yeah, there's still that. But the chances of Soul Weaver tying, I would give it a solid 75. And then the chances of Soul Weaver winning, I would give you 40% out of 100. Next will be Geisha. Geisha will be considered niche. She's very similar to Soul Weaver, but has higher chase compared to Soul Weaver. Now, why do you think I'm saying this? For Geisha herself, I guess you really need to think about it, right? You have dash every 8 seconds. You have butterflies every 15. Let me fact check the butterfly. Let me just fact check the butterfly recharge. Okay, every 17 seconds you get a butterfly, and then every 8 seconds you're able to dash. And also for early game as well, you won't be using butterflies until you find a survivor, right? So like for Geisha's early game, her pursuit, I would say it's a solid 60. compared to Violetta, it's a solid 60. But at least you can dash through walls, you can dash through low fences, you can catch up to survivors faster. These are honestly great for Geisha. These are genuinely speaking great for Geisha, because if you can get a normal hit and you blink down, you kind of have quite a bit of how do I say game pressure against the survivor. Because like if you do two butterflies on a very fast early down, survivors are forced to sell, and even if they sell, you can immediately dash out. You can soul departure and then dash out and look for the next survivor immediately, compared to the Soul Weaver, in which she needs to save web threads for dash. For Geisha in general, she has, her pursuit is high. I would give her a solid 60, and then when the game goes on, it'll go up to 75-80%. Because, you know, butterfly speed gets faster at presence 2. She has soul departure, in which it allows her to traverse around the map faster. And yeah, her check camp is solid 15. Because of soul departure, there's still a chance for a double hit scenario. But aside from that, no. Her map pressure is pretty high because she can traverse around the map pretty darn fast, so she can change targets immediately. But her cipher control is, I would say it's almost 0. Because like she does have like a strong map pressure. I gave it a 60 out of 100, but like cipher control is still just 0. It's really still just 0. But with Geisha overall, because of the high dashes, because you're able to catch up to the survivors fast, because you're able to dash through pallets, for Geisha, she's a solid niche. She's honestly speaking a solid niche, especially when you're 500 games in against, you know, against the likes of unicorns, and you're a Cyclops or even a Griffin against unicorns. But you know, for Geisha, the chances of her tying, I would give it a 50-50. And then the chances of her, well, tying probably 60 out of 100. She has a high chance to tie. And then the chances of her winning, I would give you probably 50-50 depending on how the game goes. Probably 50-50 depending on how the game goes. But yeah, that's that for Geisha. Moving on, we will have Woo Woo. For Woo Woo myself, I'm gonna put him on doable but hard. Now, why am I saying Woo Woo is doable but hard? Maybe in rank he's tie guaranteed. But for Woo Woo himself, I'd say he relies a lot on ambushing, which is basically teleporting towards a survivor who's decoding immediately and get an immediate hit, and open the bell to get an immediate down. For Woo Woo himself, his map pressure is, I'll give him 35 for map pressure, because he can put an umbrella out and force the survivor not to decode anymore. But his chase is a solid 85. It's really darn strong. His early game is bad, I know, but like his mid to late game is genuinely strong as hell, which is why I'm giving him as a pursuit of 85. Especially with instants as well, you get an immediate first hit and you get bell down. Woo is also not afraid of harassers when it comes to balloon rescuing, because of the fact that when you bell a survivor now, they're not allowed to use their items during the calibration, so that's honestly not a bad buff. Another buff for Wu-chan is the fact that when you're in Soul Siphon mode, if Soul Siphon goes over 70% progress, you can cancel it immediately. That's also another great thing. And the third adjustment for Wu hashtag buff is basically the fact that after he changes from white guard to black guard, or black guard to white guard, he basically gains, if I'm not wrong, a 40%, I think he gains a 40% interaction speed. What does this mean, you may ask? This simply just means, this basically just means after you change from black guard to white guard to black guard, his attack recovery animation is faster, his pallet destroying is faster, his vaulting is faster. So those interactions are way faster once you change. I think it increases by 25%. So like, that's honestly speaking very good if you think about it. That's honestly speaking very good. So like, you put Umbrella out, Survivor puts the pallet down, and what happens next? You break the pallet 25% faster and you get an immediate hit onto the survivors. Isn't that just great? But for Wu-chan, at the end of the day, you can still sell against him. It's still definitely possible to sell against him. But then like, a rebound kite is also very possible against a Wu-chan, but I would say it's hard. But you know, harassers is still able to do something against you. But like, I guess what matters really for you is your early game. For your early game, if you can't land that ambush, it's going to be very hard for you to like honestly speaking, blink down a survivor. But even if you do blink open the head, no open bell, by the time that you bell the survivor down, it'll probably be 80-90 seconds into the game, and that's probably a tie/win game for survivors, depending on how they play, or how well they play, how badly they play. For Wu Chan in general, you know, yeah, it's really just the chances of him tying, I would give him a solid 35. Chances of him winning, I would give him a solid 25. 1 out of every 4 games, depending on really how well you do. Especially with the fact that after they sell, knowing that you're a Wu Chan, no one will be decoding except for the rescuer. So what are you going to do? You're going to teleport towards the rescuer? That's going to be very hard for you to be able to do one day, I won't lie about that. But yeah, for Wu Chan, he's doable but hard. Moving on towards the next character. Next character will be Jojo. Jojo honestly is character issues. Jojo may have gotten a buff with the attack recovery animation being a little bit faster, and of course the card trick animation being a little bit faster. But once again, really, just to counter Joseph, you just gotta have to be near your survivors and 15-second heal and you're done. That's honestly speaking about it. Let's be fully honest with you. So for Jojo, his first camera lasts 60 seconds if I'm not wrong. I think it's 40 seconds. Let me fact check that real quick. So for Joseph, his first camera, it doesn't really say how long it lasts, but I'm gonna assume it's 40 seconds. His first camera is like 40 seconds, and it takes the Cypher Machine back by a bit of a progress. But throughout the game, the more camera you use, the less Cypher Machine progress it comes back. So all what the survivors really have to do is hide early game and then heal early game. So then for late game, when they start decoding with accelerated decoding, there's nothing you can do. Joseph relies heavily on luck, really heavily on luck, to, you know, find a survivor who you basically incapped and chaired in Photo World. And of course, with that in mind as well, when you chair a survivor, they're basically going to meet up, and then maybe one of them will hit a survivor on the ground, maybe 2 of them will hit a survivor on the ground. It's really hard for you to be able to do anything. A lot of characters counters Joseph as well, so like even if you do lose as Joseph, it's not really your fault at the end of the day. Even randoms can win against Josephs quite easily if they know what they're doing and they're not like farm selling, you know? Because like, if you get a really first good down, and then like a rescuer comes in, there's a huge chance for the survivor who was on chair to rebound kite you, because A, you've no chase, you basically no chase, you've only map control, and no, you've only cipher control, you've no map control, you've only cipher control, that's it. Your map control is also non-existent because you can't move from A to B that fast unless like you have your card trick open. But even if you have your card trick open, it's so damn limited, there's nothing you can do about it. B, when you get a survivor down within the first camera and you chair them, so rescuer comes rescue, great, what happens, who's the survivor who is on chair? Oh, it's a prospector, I've 3 magnets, no problem. Oh, it's a magician, I've 3 wands, no problem. Oh, it's a female dancer, I've 3 slow music boxes, no problem. Oh, it's a seer, you know what, I have an owl, no problem. So like, yeah, there's just so many characters that counter Jojo, it's so damn hard. It's really so damn hard for Jojo to be able to do anything on that aspect as well. For Joseph himself, his pursuit is, I give him 10 out of 100, but I want to say 0, I'll give him 10 out of 100. His map control is just 15, you know, I'll give him 20 out of 100 because of the card trick. His cipher control, I give him a solid 70. Because of the fact that after each camera use, it degrades down slowly. It really just degrades down so slowly. And then like chair camp is a 0. It's really just a 0 on chair camp. What can you do on chair camp? Nothing, to be honest with you. Generally speaking, nothing. So yeah, for Jojo, even if you're 500 games in, it's, if you lose, like the chances of you losing an arc is quite high. Let's just say this right, the chances of you tying is 35, and then the chances of you winning is like 25. If you're good enough as Jojo, like first Joseph, like you have to play so many games. Generally speaking, so many games just to win as Joseph, so it's really hard. It, generally speaking, is really hard. Moving on, it will be Mad Eyes. Now, I know what people are gonna say, and listen, I know what people are gonna say. Mad Eyes is strong in co-op. Listen guys, 500 games in, your Mad Eyes ain't gonna be that good. 500 games in, your Mad Eyes still ain't gonna be that good. It's harder to learn Mad Eyes than Dream Witch, by the way. 500 games in, you can at least win or guarantee tie as Dream Witch, not as Mad Eyes. Mad Eyes is, genuinely speaking, so goddamn hard. I used the word damn too much, I'm gonna change it. Mad Eyes is so flipping hard that you probably need 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 games to even be able to barely type with him. Honestly, in Unicorn tier. So like, for Mad Eyes, I know like people are gonna say, well, I mean, Ali, if you practice, then yeah, great. But you know, Mad Eyes isn't as fun as Joseph. Mad Eyes isn't as easy as Ember. So like, per each game you play, you get frustrated and you don't want to play him anymore. Mad Eyes himself, he has no chase. He's high map pressure. He's high cipher pressure. He's high, like, really good chair camp. But then they're only good. They're only good. I'll give it all a 90 out of 100. 90 out of 100. Whatever he has, 90 out of 100, except for Pursuits, which is probably a 0. But like, that's only when you're 1,500 games in, not 500 games in. 1,500 games in. 1,500 games in. Mad Eyes is genuinely very hard. I know they adjusted to the fact that, you know, if you press the yellow area instead of just the console, it can bring you to the nearest console. Listen, I know it just makes Mad Eyes' life easier, but like, you require so much skill level and proficiency. B, you need to have so much attention to detail and know where they are. And C, you need to learn off. Okay, this is this area, this is that area, this is that area. Okay, that may be not hard, but it's annoying. It's annoying to do it, especially whenever new maps comes out as well. It's so hard for Mad Eyes. But you can also think, hey, so I'm a Blink Mad Eyes, and I chase after a normal team comp with no harassers. That's good for you, but they can kite, my guy. They can kite, my gal. You're playing Excitement Mad Eyes against harasser team. Well, that's great, but how are you gonna get the first down fast? How are you, genuinely speaking, gonna get the first down fast? It's genuinely speaking so hard. So like, tying as Mad Eyes, you know, I'll give you a solid 15 out of 100, and winning as Mad Eyes is 5 out of 100, 500 games in. It's generally speaking so hard. He does have fence locks or nearest lock, you know, cipher machines, but overall, nah, no one's gonna spend that long to learn Mad Eyes unless you're fully dedicated, right? I respect the ones that are fully dedicated to do it, but I don't think it's worth it. You can still get countered even if you get 1,500 games in. You genuinely can still get countered even if you're 1,500 games in. But yeah, that's that for Mad Eyes. Moving on to Feaster. Feaster will also be doable but hard, but probably above Ripper and Woo Woo, is what I'm going to say. Now, why, you may ask? Well, there are a lot of, you know, patroller feasters going around in which you can double hit immediately and down the survivor, but you know, the problem with that really is just with the fact that they can sell, and they can sell very darn easily, and then you won't have a second chase. But for Feaster, he's still doable but hard because of the fact that if they do come rescue, the chances of a double down is almost always guaranteed. I would say 85 out of 100% of the time. You can get a double down by, you know, a tentacle down and then hit the rescuer and then hit the whoever's on chair next. But for Feaster overall, really just selling. Like, they will sell if you got it really early down. I won't lie, they will generally speaking just sell. So like, unless like you can find a second chase really fast, it's gonna be really hard for you. But like, even for first chase, it's very hard as well. For Feaster himself, his pursuit, I would give him, you know, I give him a solid 30 because he can lock certain areas with tentacles. But like, the tentacles are generally speaking so easily baited, and like you can literally flywheel it, and then like you can, how do I say, you can just walk the other way, you know, you can just walk the other way or just juke the tentacles. But overall, like, you just need a really good early down, and even if you get a really good early down, you can probably still only tie. Like, imagine you get a 30-second down and you tie. That's flipping weird, I know, but that's just Feaster overall, who has literally no chase. His chair combo would give you a solid 70 because the double down chances are very high. Double down chances is generally speaking very high, but then like the problem there comes with, if they do get a rescue, their chances of rebound kiting is pretty darn high as well. Like, I would give him, like, so like there's a really huge question mark there for you as well. But also at the same time, Feaster is afraid of harassers. Like, when you chase after someone and you get harassed, he is afraid of that as well, which is quite of a big problem. I won't lie to you about that. But overall, I would say still better than Woo Woo because of the patroller Feasters out there, honestly. Feaster does have a little bit of cipher control, in which when you hit a survivor, tentacles pop out. I would give that like a 15 out of 100. Just a 15 out of 100 mark, but he has no map pressure at all. He can't rotate around the map ASAP. So yeah, that's that for Feaster. Moving on with Dreamwatch. Dreamwatch would be Night Watch Takeover. Well, I was, you know what, let's go Night Watch Sleepover. Sleepover Party. Night Watch Sleepover Party. Why? 500 games in your Dreamwatch, you can almost always guarantee a tie. Like, the chances of you guarantee a tie 500 games into Dreamwatch is like, I would give you a solid 75 out of 100. Because Dreamwatch is patroller down, next patroller down, and then almost always guarantee a tie, 75 out of 100. And then winning as Dreamwatch, really 500 games in, I would give you 40 out of 100. Close to 50 out of 100, but 40 out of 100 I think is not a bad, it's not a bad take there. Because like, Dreamwatch A has Pursuit, Dreamwatch A has Pursuit because of Patroller, B, she has map pressure because of her followers out there, along with map pressure she has Cypher pressure because of the follower, and then her chair camp I would give her a solid 30 out of 100, because probably 3 out of 10 times in the game you can find the survivors on the outer side and then hit the survivor with one of the follower and immediately change towards the second, like the follower near the chair, and then do a double down. That's 3 out of 10 times, 30% of the time that will happen, which is basically speaking game changing. But for Dreamwatch overall, even if you do have a bad early game, there's still a chance for you to win if you just map control, just Cypher control after you chair one survivor. And then after you down one survivor, like imagine one survivor is down 90 seconds into the game, you pick the survivor up, you chair near the prime site, near a cipher which the survivors are decoding. What you gonna do? What the survivor gonna do? Nothing, because you're gonna put another follower near that cipher. GG well played. That's almost always a guaranteed tie. So for Dreamwatch, I don't really have to say much. She also got a buff like countering Priestess with the main body as well. That's genuinely speaking just brilliant. That's like one of the best buffs I think Dreamwatch will ever get. But of course she got her nerfs, but you know, it is what it is there. It is what it is. So yeah, for Dreamwatch it'll be a Night Watch Sleepover Party there. But like I would mark her, I would give her Pursuit a solid 60. And then a chair camp solid 35 as I said as well. And then map and cypher pressure is probably 85 to 90. So yeah, that's that for Dreamwatch. Okay, now then, moving on, we will have Axeboy. Axeboy will be, on a personal level, I would say Axeboy now will probably be still tie guarantee in our current day meta. Now why, like, to be honest with you, I kind of want to put Axeboy on doable but hard, but I still feel like the chances of him tying is pretty darn high, cause you need to voice track, sorry. You need to consider, I just woke up, you just need, day 2 of recording this, you just need to consider a few things, right? First thing would be, Axeboy has fireballs, Axeboy has trees, in which it means Axeboy's early game chase, I'll give it a 60 out of 100, Axeboy's early game chase, let's give it a 55 out of 100, yeah, 55 out of 100 seems good. And then as the game goes by, right, as the game goes by, Axeboy kind of slowly but surely gets his chase up towards a 70, 75 out of 100. So it's not still too bad for him. For Axeboy himself, he does have map control, but that's only when he opens Presence 2. Right, that's only when he opens Presence 2. But also at the same time, survivors can easily counter Axeboy just by, you know, just by priming the trees at 99%, so the moment that they have heartbeats, they break the trees, and so then there's going to be no souls surrounding the survivor once they leave the tree area. Which is why I feel Axeboy is probably more of a tie guarantee instead of a niche, but also probably along like a very top on the doable but hard, but I still feel like tying with him is a little bit easier. Axeboy's chair camp, in a nutshell, I would say it's like a 50-50. Right, I would say it's a huge 50-50. Reason number one that it's not low is because of the fact that you can basically do your resentful road combo alongside with the fireballs, in which, you know, standing on the resentful road will increase your movement speed, so then there'll be a higher chance of you landing that fire orb on the survivors. That's reason number one. Reason number two is because of the fact that fire orbs is a half health damage, so it's similar to a basic attack, in which I think the chances of you stuffing the rescue is still darn high. Even if you can't stuff the rescue, I still do feel like you can get a double down, in which it'll basically kind of guarantee you a guaranteed tie. Unless they kite at you for 150 seconds, then there's nothing I can do about that. Well, I mean, if any hunter gets kited at 150 seconds, it's kind of already an automatic lose. Maybe not very much, but we'll just have to see. So yeah, Axboy himself, he does have his chase snowballs slowly get stronger. Basically, it snowballs. The term snowball just means that imagine a snowball rolling down the hill, it slowly get bigger and bigger. So Axboy will slowly get stronger and stronger, but that's only when he gets his presents. Hashtag please land my fireballs, I'm begging you. Please be dumb survivors, I'm begging you. But also at the same time for Axboy, he doesn't really get punished that much. I would say dodging fireball isn't hard, but you know, because you also need to consider even if you miss one fireball, you get a movement speed boost to catch up to your worst survivors, right? In which sometimes you can actually use that as your advantage point just by putting a random fireball just to catch up the survivor ASAP. His hitbox is kind of trash, I don't disagree with you, but his charge attack hitbox, especially with the fact that impulsive is now a thing, and of course with resentful roll, I genuinely do think that there's a lot of combos you can do with Axboy. Axboy himself, as I said as well, his pursuit snowballs up from maybe a 50 to a 75 once his presence opens. He also gets, let's say, he also has a 50-50 not map control, sorry, 50-50 chair camp. Axboy's map pressure, it only opens up on phase 2, but it's only in late game as well, and that's only when survivors, genuinely speaking, gives you free hits. I would give it probably a 25 out of 100, 25%. Right, consider the fact that his map pressure is only available late game. Early game, I would say his map pressure is probably only like 5 out of 100, a 5% thing, because it's so easily counterable. To be fair with you on that point as well. But for Axboy overall, he's tie guaranteed because of, you know, chair camp being one thing, and then he doesn't really get punished too much, even though, yes, as an Axboy player, I played him, he does get punished for missing, you know, fireballs. It's pretty darn easily counterable. Well, it depends as well, to be honest with you. And then also at the same time, there are survivors that counter him, like, you know, just Flywheel overall counters him, but not a lot of survivors uses Flywheel nowadays, which is a good thing because it's gotten nerfed and the meta has recently been changed. Entomologist counters, barmaid counters, there's a few counters out there, but it's not too bad, honestly. It's not too bad. He's still tie guaranteed. You play 500 games in and you're a unicorn. Moving on, we will have Evil Reptilian. For Reptilian himself, I'll put Reptilian a part of niche. Reptilian, he may have like this energy thing that he charges up in order for him to like jump, but also at the same time, if you think about it, whenever you play Reptilian, you can't really spam that thing. After Reptilian's new buff, in which his first jump, if he genuinely speaking fails it, the cooldown immediately resets, in which I think it's really a good thing, because sometimes you do panic on your first jump. Right, and if you don't jump through, you get punished for 8 seconds, considering the fact that Reptilian is generally speaking so darn hard as well. So for Naiad themselves, I think that's not a bad patch. I don't think that's a bad patch. For Reptilian's second buff, Reptilian himself, his crash now deals AoE damage, in which it basically just means that you can almost always guarantee a double hit on the survivors. So take this for example. When the survivor comes rescue, so the survivor gets a rescue on chair, but then Reptilian comes crashing down immediately. Not only does red circle comes out from tide, the other rescuer will also be a half health. In this type of situation, if you just decide that, oh, I want to hit the rescuer, it'll be a double down situation, in which it'll help you quite a bit. Another thing about Reptilian is he can go out to look for survivors, hit the survivor, and then jump back immediately for a double chair camp once again. Now this for Reptilian, it is very strong. I don't disagree with you myself, but that's only when he gets someone on chair. For Reptilian himself, he does rely a lot on early game. Of course, I will put it on doable but hard, but I feel like 500 games in, you probably do have quite a good game sense on playing Evil Reptilian, which is why he's a part of niche now for me. Reptilian himself, he's not that much of a bad character. I do suggest people, if you want to play hard hunters and don't like Dream Witch and like single hit hunters, do consider Evil Reptilian. He does have quite a bit of counters, but in rank in general, there's not that much Reptilian players, so like not a lot of players really do know how to counter him. Even in pro play as well, as we see in Koa, or see Shota's Reptilian, he nearly got a formal elimination on GG, which is considered one of the strongest powerhouses from CN. So for Reptilian himself, his chase early game, let's give it a 65 out of 100. His chair camp, let's give it a 50 out of 50-50. Let's say 50-50. And of course, his map control, I'll give map control probably a 60, and I'll give Cypher pressure a 0, because he really doesn't really have that much Cypher pressure unless he peepers. His pursuit, his chase ability slowly goes up as, you know, Well, once he opens presence 2, he can jump 3 times, in which he can basically just roam around the map, especially if it's small maps, just go from one gate to the other. Well, maybe from one gate to basically half the map. Similar as like Arms Factory, so from like one gate directly like to Shack or something. So for Evil Reptilian himself, I'll give him niche. I'll put him a little bit below Geisha because he's considered, well, he is quite hard compared to Geisha. He is generally speaking quite hard compared to Geisha. I won't be taking any builders such as, you know, side angles Geisha, or immediately dash over pallet Geisha, etc, etc. Overall, if you play 500 games with Geisha versus 500 games with Evil Reptilian, you probably would have more proficiency with Geisha compared to Evil Reptilian. So I'll mark my end on Reptilian for that one. Moving on, we will be having Bloody Queen. I will be putting Bloody Queen in between Geisha and Reptilian. For Bloody Queen herself, she only has chase when she has mirror. So I'll give her chase at 50 out of 100, so 50%. Her chair camp is 10 out of 100, 10%. Considering the fact that there is a chance if you throw a mirror out, you can hit the rescuer, and then if the rescuer wants to come rescue like a merc, it's basically a guaranteed double down situation. You may think, oh, stuff rescue is better, but in all honesty, for single hit hunters, most of single hit hunters really do have fast chase, so you can basically get a survivor down ASAP compared to chip hunters, in which I will say double down basically guarantees you to tie a single hit hunter. So don't think about stuffing for terror shocks, think about double hitting rescuers and then getting the survivor on chair down within 20 seconds, which is why I'm saying Bloody Queen's chair camp maybe is a 10 out of 100, 10%. For Bloody Queen's Pursuit, we said it's a 50-50, but once phase 2 opens, we can slowly up it up to 60, and then when phase 3 opens, presence 2 opens, we can basically give it a 75 out of 100. Simply because of the fact that Survivor's mirrorage will be shown to you as well. So, therefore, you know, it's a bit easier to hit with a mirror, so you won't really miss it that much late game, which is a good thing. For Bloody Queen herself as well, her mirror is when she has detention, her mirror basically one-shots survivors, which is a good thing as well. But overall for BQ, she is a hard hunter, definitely harder than Geisha, because you need to be very accurate with your mirrors. Landing 2 mirrors can almost always guarantee you a win, but usually a lot of BQs is because of the fact that flywheel is a thing. They either use 2 mirrors and a blink, because they'll miss 1 mirrors, or just 3 mirrors. Once 3 mirror comes out, you can basically say that it's 2.5 cipher. So it's kind of a guaranteed tight there for you. But overall for BQ players, 500 games in, you probably do have a good sense of your mirrors. The chances of you winning is probably 65%, the chances of you tying is probably 50%, if I'm gonna be honest with you. But overall for BQ, she's more of a perfectionist than anything. Cause for what you do, like for BQ, she's like a perfectionist hunter. You need to make sure you don't spend too much time not having your mirror, but you also need to make sure that you also land your mirror. So there's kind of a balance between that as well. So giving you a hypothetical example, for example, you're a small boat in say village, you throw the mirror out, but then the survivors are already on the small boat area. Now in this case scenario, you probably do know yourself, the mirror image of yours will be able to hit the survivor even if they're on top of small boat. But if they're on big boat, you know yourself you shouldn't be throwing the mirror out, but you also know that you shouldn't be holding the mirror for too long, for 30 seconds, just so you can find a good place to place the mirror and guarantee the hit, because it's kind of considered 1 failed mirror and 1 normal mirror. That's the case. So yeah, for BQ she'll be a part of niche. She does rely on perfectionism, but 500 games in, you should be fine. Overall, you really should be fine. Now then, moving on, we'll be having Bonbon. Bonbon will be on the very high tier of tie guarantee. Now then, why am I saying Bonbon is part of tie guarantee when you're 500 games in? Now you folks may probably realize by this point, Windows counter Bonbon, Flywheel also does counter Bonbon, your chain bomb does get countered. And you may say, oh no, but in IVL, in co-op, Bonbon has been used a lot. Yes, for a tie game hunter, he's a guaranteed, genuinely speaking tie game hunter. Why, you may ask? Firstly, Bonbon is very similar to Soul Weaver. Bonbon can stack bombs, in which every 6 seconds he gets a bomb. Is it 5 or 6 seconds? I'm not sure, but once Presence 2 opens, it reduces by 1 second. So in a nutshell, 30-40 seconds into the game, he'll have 6 stacks of bombs, which means that he's allowed to roam around the map for 30 to 40 seconds. Right? And in a nutshell, you can say if the survivor knows that they're coming to you and they pull far away, the chance of you landing a chain bomb and the survivor being very far away is pretty darn low, but if the survivor is close to you, probably is pretty darn high as well. But knowing this fact as well, usually you can almost always guarantee a triple chain bomb on the survivors, but that's only when you have 6 bombs on you, maybe 5 bombs, and the last bomb is currently charging. Right, but on this issue as well, even if you do land 2 perfect bombs, you sometimes may also just need to blink out, or maybe sometimes you get the survivor after blink is ready. The chances of you getting a normal hit on the survivor is really low as bomb unless they mainly focus on dodging chips. Then you know what, that's very fair for you. But the moment that you hit them, survivors will just put them pallet and then vault it, pull a very far away distance, or maybe just pull a far away distance. You guys also need to consider the fact that current day meta, it really is about item survivors. Item survivors are just so annoying. You need to consider Prospector, 1 magnet basically dodges your chain bomb. Magician, same thing. Barmaid, if you get chipped, once you just immediately drink and speed doubling away and then get another drink out. Not in a nutshell. Acrobat, I don't need to say much. Postman, yeah, you do kind of postman, but if the blob bites you, good luck on getting after him, lol. Mech, she's just gonna cypher rush you with the doll out there, and so much more. For Bomber himself, he's also high guarantee because his pursuit is basically 0. In a nutshell, his map pressure is 0, his pursuit is also 0, and let's just say his cipher pressure is probably, I'll give his cipher pressure a 40 out of 100, considering how long of a hand he has. He can throw bombs very far away to pressure ciphers. I'll give it a 40 out of 100, and his chair cam is 90 out of 100. Very strong chair cam, very strong chair cam. But of course, on the off chance that you done a survivor very early on into the game, the chances of you winning is still not high, because all the survivor needs to do is sell, and then what can you do? Change from blink to teleport? Well, good luck with you on that. Blink to teleport, because if you consider this, if you have teleport on your hands, the chances of you getting a survivor down with chips only, they'll probably continue 70 to 80 seconds. That's 3 ciphers done. They'll definitely come rescue, that's for sure. But if you get a survivor down fast but have teleport on your hands, maybe you can win then. But usually it's really rare for bomb mains to bring teleport, considering the fact that his bomb sometimes is quite inconsistent. But you know, at the end of the day, it really does depend on as well on what survivor you're also chasing against. For Bomb himself, you guys know, listen, just sell. You get 2 ciphers done, and what can you do? Just pull distance away from the bomb line. You know who the hunter is anyway, and don't give him any chances, and then it'll still be a guarantee tie at the end of the day. So yeah, that's that for Bomb. Honestly, that's that for Bomb. Now then, moving on will be Anne. I won't say much. Anne didn't really get that much changes. She's still just a part of guarantee tie. Her chase is no, I'll give her chase a 70, because even if you throw cats out, all what you can do is wait for your next cat to be ready and jump. That's what I'm gonna say for her chase. But it does slowly get stronger. Does it slowly get stronger? I think her chase is 70 and then slowly snowballs up to 90, considering the fact that you can get a double jump and a cross, just so she can catwalk easier. But also at the same time, for Anne herself, her chase is 75. Her chair camp is, I would put her chair camp probably on a 60, because it really does depend as well. If you ban the merc, what you gonna do against a first officer or a gravekeeper as the rescuer, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I'm gonna put it on a 60 there, because if you do ban mercenary, it kind of tells them, oh, I'm gonna play a chair cam character. So yeah, in rank as well. So yeah, not the brightest idea in my whole opinion. Not the brightest idea. But overall for Anne, chair camp's probably a 60%. Chase goes from 70% to a 90%, which is pretty darn good, I won't lie. Pretty darn good. Oh no, probably 70 to 85. Let's say 60 to 85. 60 to 85. Early game her chase isn't that good except for just 1 cat jump. It's basically 1 window vault or 1 pallet vault, and then you can't really catch up to the survivors anymore, in a nutshell. For Anne herself, to be honest with you, she doesn't have map pressure. She does have a bit of map pressure if you just put the cat out and then paralyze the survivors so that they can't decode anymore. You could also consider that as cipher pressure, so I'll probably just give it 20 for both. 20 for map pressure, 20 for cipher pressure. But her chase is splendidly well, from a 60 to an 85, and then and then you can get like a, and what else can you get? Let me think. Oh yeah, and then you have chair capability as well. But for Anne herself, she's really just guaranteed tie, because like after you sell and you want to look for the next survivor, the cipher is probably already primed. To be honest with you, the cipher probably is already primed. And considering whether in big maps or small maps, you need to be wary of like survivor putting down pallets, because like just in case your the radius of your cache is not big enough. But even if you step near the pallet while the survivor is putting down the pallet, sometimes it won't really register as a stun, because the radius is just too small for you to step on. So yeah, there's that as well. There's really nothing much I can say for Disciple. One cat is like per each cat you put on the survivor, it's like a 20-second containment for them. If you can land 2 cats, great, and then get them down ASAP, that's great. But then like survivors can also just sell. You could argue that, oh no, her chase is good. It's not good. Only when it opens presence 2, she can dash twice, unlike Geisha BQ, in which they can find a target immediately, and is not quite the same. She does have a mediocre early game with a pursuit compared to Geisha and BQ, but then as late game comes on, she slowly start building up like a snowball. But overall, I wouldn't say it's that hard to do anything against Anne, considering she doesn't really have cipher pressure as well. Alongside with that much mob pressure, it's not too hard, really, just to sell against Disciples. So yeah, she'll be a part of tie guarantee. Now then, now then, next we'll have Violinist. I'm gonna put Violinist on the very high part. Very high part. Violinist is doable but hard. In a nutshell, it is what it is. You need to consider a few things. Firstly, 3 item survivor counters and pretty darn hard is what I think on my personal level. Landing strings, I would say, is probably harder than landing a mirror, which is why I'm putting Violinist very down low. Probably, you know what, I'll put a buff feaster. Because of his skills. Now what does Violinist have? Violinist has 1 string early game in which you can deal half health towards the survivor. If the survivor walks past the string, they'll gain a debuff. Phase 2, presence 1 basically is that he can throw demon nodes out, in which it slows the decoding down by 12%, 25%, and then 50% for each stack 1, stack 2, stack 3. And of course, if I'm not wrong, it does slow down the movement speed as well, so that's not that much of a bad thing. Now, why is Violinist doable but hard? It's considering that current day meta, a lot of survivors do like running, the whole shenanigan of female dancer, barmaid, psychologist. I feel like even if you do manage to land that string, survivors will probably be like, hell nah, I'm just gonna focus on getting a normal hit on you instead, so don't even think about landing a string on me, so then can just pull away easier. In a nutshell. So Violinist chase, I'll give his chase a 15, considering the fact that his strings can be considered as pressure, but I want to say 0 because I said Bonbon's chase was 0. So there you have it for that. Violinist mob pressure is, his mob pressure in a nutshell, it is 0, but his cipher pressure, I would say it's like a 40 out of 100, considering the fact that if the survivors are very far away, they're able to dodge it, but they're forced to dodge the strings. Let's say, because if the string lands on them, they'll have to harmonize themselves so that they can decode. It's very similar to Violetta's webs, but then yeah, I think it is very similar to Violetta's webs, but it's like a global demon nodes thing, in which survivors doesn't have the option but needs to dodge. Compared to Violetta, you can just not take the webs and it'll disappear after a while. But yeah, for Violinist himself, he does have that. His chair comp is probably his chair comp. I would say it's dependable. It's dependable, because the moment you throw one string out, all the rescuer has to do is immediately touch the chair, because you're in string animation and that's a no damage rescue. Even if you do land the string on the rescuers, they still got the rescue. they generally speaking still got the rescue. Now I know people will start saying, hey, Violinist can open his presence 1 demon notes ability and then stand next to the chair, so then like he can hit in one direction. If the rescuer wants to rescue, he'll get terror shocked. Listen, I know what you mean by that, but like that's only under the circumstance that the rescuer stands on the other side of the chair and wants to spam click the chair, so then the survivor stays on chair for a little bit longer. The way you want to counter that is to just walk in his face and just tank a normal hit. TLDR in a nutshell. For Violinist himself, like I don't even think, does Presence 2 do much? You can dodge Presence 2 quite easily. It's highly counterable, but it does count as like, you know, you need to stand still for a few seconds in order for you to be able to dodge it. But also at the same time, I think it's also dependable on the survivors as well. 500 games into Violinist, I want to say you're guaranteed type, but you know, doable but hard. I'll still put it on doable but hard, considering the fact that his strings are genuinely harder to land compared to BQ. It is genuinely harder to land than BQ. He has moved down from guaranteed tie, but that's also because of the shift in meta as well. Current day meta relies a lot on solo containment for the sake of, you know, Acrobat. Let me just look. Acrobat, Seer, Batter counters, Weeping Clown counters, even Little Girl counters. Listen, even Little Girl counters. The moment one string comes out, you put a page down and then like pushes it to 100 back. Yada yada you. High Merchant counters, Patient counters, i.e. probably Journalist isn't counter, but Composer counters, Anti-Current counters. You can also say like Professor counter is just moves in a weird direction, which is hard for Violinist to land a string. And so much more, even Entomologist. Entomologist, GameKeeper. Just quite a bit. I won't lie, there's quite a bit. So yeah, there's that for Vio. Moving on, we'll have Gala. Gala, I'm gonna put her on niche 500 games that you can probably land your statues, and she probably isn't even a part of niche. I won't lie with you on that part, but you know what? I'm just gonna put it up there. If you watch me, you know yourself what Gala is like in height here, and how to counter Gala in height here, and how I play Gala in height here. And how I'm maintaining my S match for like I don't know how many seasons now. But for Gala overall, she has one side of the statue early game. It regens every 16 seconds. She has no chase ability, so her chase is 0. Her chair combo give it like a 75 out of 100 compared to the bomb money, which is a 90. Right? But overall, Gala has a little bit more stuff. If you get a really good early down, at least you can throw your chisel out to stall the Cypher machines a little bit. At least you can do that. She does have Cypher pressure, in which I'll give it a 50 out of 100. It's not much, but it's still something. It's not much, but it's still something. For Gala herself, like, dodging statues is one thing. But like, you need to consider muscle memory counters Gala. I do understand it's harder to like land statues if they have muscle memory. All they need to do is to dodge the chips, but it's ranked, so they're not professional players, so it's not too bad at the end of the day. And you also need to consider like phase 2 statues isn't that hard to dodge. I won't lie, it really isn't that hard to dodge as long as you have a little bit of distance and you know what you're doing. But that also depends on the Sculptor main herself, in which how she uses the phase 2 statues. For Gala herself, chases 0, map pressure is 50, Cypher pressure is probably a, you know what, map pressure and Cypher pressure is the same. I'll give it a 40 instead of a 50. She does not have chase. Her chair camp is 75, but because she has a chair camp as well, even if you have a bad early game, it's very similar to Bombon. Even if you have a bad early game, there's still a chance for you to, you know, redeem yourself from a chair camp. Now, what's the difference between her and Bombon is really the map pressure. Sculptor has more map pressure than Bombon because she has a chisel, in which it will slow the decoding down by quite a bit. If you have one rescuer come to rescue and one chisel out for 12 seconds, that means there's 2 survivors not decoding, only 1 survivor decoding, in which it kind of does help you out quite a bit. For Gala herself, I probably won't say much. 500 games and you probably do know how to land some of the statues, and you probably do know how to use some of the double chip statues easier, but you know, at the end of the day, I want to cry. As a Gala main, it kind of sucks. Like, I know people are gonna be like, bro, you literally win, you have a 100% Gala win rate. Yes, I know, but that's only because survivors are stupid. That's the whole goddamn reason. Survivors are stupid. That's it. Done. If it's on the same level as me, if the survivors are on the same level as I am, they'll be kind of like tying / winning every game against me. So yeah. Hi. Okay. Moving on, we will have Undead. Undead is very doable but hard. Now, why is Undead not a part of character issues anymore? One reason is impulsive, and the second reason is he's very hard. Because consider this, right? Undead doesn't have chair camp abilities. He just does not. But his pursuit is a full 100 out of 100. He has max pursuit compared to any other hunter. He does have max pursuit. He can 5 dash early game to immediately find a survivor and then they can't stun him. Great. That's great. But you need to consider the fact that he does have chair camp ability, so the moment that survivor gets down, all one survivor has to do heal to 99 and then start crawling away from the hunter. Now, for most of you players who play Rescuer and see someone down and go immediately to heal them, no, please. You're like instant rescuing a survivor from chair once to get chair if you're doing that. There is a bar. The bar is at 75% of the bleed level. 75% bleed level, guys. Can we just consider 75% bleed level? You can stay on chair for 40 seconds, let's say, compared to a normal 30 seconds. Let them stay on the ground. Let them crawl towards somewhere which is A, far away from the hunter, and B, in a very good kiting area, so then they can kite for a little bit longer and the hunter has to take a while to reach to them. Please. Genuinely, please. But like, even if you do get a terror shock early game, the chances of you winning is still low. Because like for Undead, right, because he has max pursuit, he needs to be consistent on that max pursuit. Now, what do I mean? A, you need to down someone fast. B, you need to find your second target immediately and then down them fast, in which, you know, you can't really allow them to kite you over 40 seconds. If they kite you over 60 seconds, you're kind of screwed by that point. Because like, they can just self-rescue themselves and everyone else out there can just decode. So, max pursuit 100, chair cam 0. That's sad. Map pressure, I would give him a 60 because he can change targets easier. Cypher pressure 0. Also 0 unless he has peepers. So yeah, for Undead he's very hard to win. It's doable but hard because like he needs to find the next target immediately and down them. Sometimes even if you reach 50% you don't get stunned, you do a dash, you jump up and you land, and then like the only way to counter that as survivor is to like be very close towards like their window pallet / wall, so then like they won't get damaged. The end. So yeah, but you also need to consider there's 3 item survivors these days, and there's quite a bit of survivors that are popular in ranking encounters, and they're like barmaid, entomologist, etc., perfumer, etc. So there you have it for that. And that is doable but hard. Now then, moving on, we'll be having Breaking Wheel. Breaking Wheel, I'll put him probably below. You know what? No, I'm actually gonna put Breaking Wheel probably here. No. I don't know where to put him on I want to put him on Night Watch Sleepover, but I probably won't. Because like he's just counterable these days. But like Breaking Wheel will also be a part of niche. Now why you may wonder, Breaking Wheel's pursuit is just 100. The end. His chair combo, I'll give him 35. Consider the fact that you can really change the wheel form, go out look for the survivor, and then like get one spike on them, and then like come back towards the chair, and you can sometimes you can get a survivor after half rescued. His map pressure I would say 70, but his cipher control is just 0. It's really just 0 on that part. Now, Breaking Wheel has so many good stuff, right? His rankings are pretty darn high compared to the other hunters, but why is he not Night Watch Sleepover? Reason number 1 is it's a bit easy to counter him early game. Right, if you can kite Breaking Wheel early game, there's nothing he can do late game. So it's really up to the Breaking Wheel on how he plays. Most Breaking Wheels just land one normal spike, change to human form, get a normal hit or a blink hit, and then like get under a spike and then like snap them down. In which I will say, yes, that is not a bad way to do it. If you didn't even use blink and then stop them down, that's also brilliant as well. It's kind of a tie/win game there for you. Also, at the same time for Breaking Wheel, the moment that he chairs, he can just go out immediately. There's a lot of different ways to play Breaking Wheel. The first way is to like do your normal get survivor 2 spikes, chair them, and then like move on to the next. And then the second way really is to eliminate 1 survivor and start slugging the last 3 survivors for a formal elimination, in which is why I'm saying he's a niche. A lot of Breaking Wheels do bring Insolence to attention nowadays. You rarely see Insolence trump card. The trump card probably mainly will be used for like excitement and such, but it really depends at the end of the day. Excitement or abnormal, to be honest with you, or peepers to slug. But for Breaking Wheel himself, everyone probably knows the moment that he was in meta, he was very strong. but the reason why he went down on meta because everyone was using Flywheel. Now in current day meta, Flywheel has been nerfed, so there has been, you know, survivors who has been switching between Flywheel and Windows, in which is why I'm saying Breaking Wheel is back to niche now. Now, you can probably guess what type of survivor uses Flywheel. You know, you have your classic harassers who uses Flywheel only, and then you have your classic sometimes the perfumer and the magician using Flywheel. But because they use Flywheel, it means that they can't really pull distances away from you. So the moment that they get their first spike, you land a trap on them, which is not too hard in my personal opinion, because they can't pull distance away from you with like Windows, etc. You can get a normal hit, you can land your second spike, and you can snap down. That's kind of already guaranteed tie. And then winning from there on out is basically like your own game sense. It's really your own game sense wise. Early game, I would say, yeah, it's gonna be very hard for you to be able to do anything, but like, it's rank. It's not really tourney players, it's rank, so it's still doable to a certain extent. Very similar to Gala, but still doable to a certain extent. Is he hard? Yes, he is hard. Is he harder than Dreamwitch? No. Dreamwitch is like multitasker all the way. Wheel is really just about you driving. That's it, the end. Wheel is really just about you driving and then landing traps. That's it, the end. His snap is strong. Once he opens presence, you only need to land one snap and then change forms immediately, and then Ridicule would just throw a torn on them. Unless they have Flywheel, that's a whole different story. But also at the same time, you may wonder, hey, Breaking Wheel can be countered. Survivors can counter Breaking Wheel snap just by flywheeling. Yes, but there's an emote now in which it helps Breaking Wheel. There's, I think, yeah, the salute emote is basically looks like it's a snap, in which you can bait a survivor out of the flywheel. It's very similar to Dreamwitch's, you know, threaten animation, if I'm not wrong. So some Dreamwitches get terror attacks because of that, and bait out flywheel because of that as well. So there you have it. There you have. That's all what I can say for that. I would still say he's a part of niche. I can't put him any lower. Because like, if I look at everyone in doable hard, Wheel just has so much more potential compared to anyone down there. In guaranteed tie, I think he could be more than guaranteed tie. 500 games in, you probably could guarantee more than a tie, to be honest with you. But it also depends on the map. Don't play him in Arms Factory. Don't play him in like church or hospital, please. Thank you very much. But moving on. Next on the list will be Nightmare. I'm gonna put Nightmare on character issues. I really will put Nightmare on character issues. Reason number 1, pallet spamming is a problem. Reason number 2, survivors with 3 items. Reason number 3, he has such a bad early game. I don't know what the hell to say. He has such a bad early game. I'll just list off all survivors that counter him, excluding rescuers. First one we have Priestess, second we have Perfumer, third one we have Cowboy, fourth one we have Female Dancer, we have Seer, we have Prospector, we do have Enchantress, but it depends on the Ench. Acro counters, Barmaid counters. I would not say Postman counters, but like if he lands a dog, in which dog is very dodgeable, then he counters, but Postman doesn't counter. Prisoner doesn't counter as well. Ento counters, Painter counters, Batter counters, Weeping Clown counters, Little Girl also counters, Novelist counters, Psycho counters, Patient counters, Toy Merchant counters, Forward counters. Wait, he's a rescuer, my bad. Professor. Yeah, Professor also counters because like his skill is basically a normal attack. Anti-current counters, Composer counters. So many people can, like all the survivors counter him. What can you do, boy? Genuine, like what can you do? Even if you do decide to bring like insolence detention with him, your map control is pretty darn low. I won't lie, your map control is pretty goddamn low. And also considering the fact that his, like, I would want to put his chair comp on a 50-50, but considering a lot of rescuers now, like Journalist, even if you get hit, throw your Orphe out, it's a double down, but you still get the rescue. Forward is forward, just one long ball pull and you'll be at the chair. Entomologist, no, not Ento, sorry. Merc, yada yada yada. First officer, you can't even land a hit on him, boy. You can't land a hit on him when he's in Poseidon state, boy. And then like Gravekeeper, girl, please, what can we do? Like, girl, what the hell? Wilding can't really, listen, Wilding is Wilding. He can tank hits, who cares? So yeah. It's really a character issue. I would argue his early game chase goes from 0 as snowballs up to 85, but that's only if he gets the chance. He does not get the chance. Not against current day meta, it's so goddamn hard. But like, you could say, hey, it's rank. I know, listen, it's rank, but just spamming pilots, you can literally kite them for 60 seconds for free, genuinely. Genuinely, just think about it, like, I don't know, like, if it's Lucky Guy against the Nightmare, I guess, yeah, fair, Nightmare will murder him, but like, everyone else, no. So yeah, sorry for that weird voice, but yeah, honestly, I don't know. Like, if you don't win with him, it's not your fault, it's just a character issue. You're playing the wrong guy, you're playing the wrong hunter, man. So yeah, I'm not gonna evaluate. I will evaluate, actually. He has, in order for him to gain his stats, he needs to look at the survivors for a while. In which it means, hey, I need to look at your face, stop cutting tight corners, please, this is very hard on me. B, he does have poaching passive ability, in which his movement speed increases by 10% when he's not chasing a survivor. Very similar to Hunter's instincts, but that can only get you so far. The moment that survivor puts a pallet down, you're gonna be forced to break and look at the survivor and boom. But yeah, you're no more poaching, boy. No more poaching, boy. C, you want to homing missile basic attack the survivor. You need to look at the survivor. Poaching's useless then. It's useless. Believe me, it is useless. So yeah. And then once presence 1 opens, you can teleport towards his crows. His crows does give a little bit of map/cipher pressure. I'll give it a 10 out of 100. But nah. You probably need to play like 1,000, 1,500 games to like just being able to like win in Unicorn. So yeah. I don't think 500 games is enough, so yeah. Moving on. Moving on, we have Wax Artist. I'll put Wax Artist on niche as well. I genuinely will. He's a little bit map dependent. You can't play him on like Factory, Church, Hospital, questionable, but Factory, Church, and yeah, Factory, Church mainly. I think you can literally play him on any other map. But for Wax Artist himself, 500 games in, you're probably able to win your games not too hardly. Like, winning is like winning I'll give you a 60, and tying I'll give you also, I like tying as Wax Artist 500 games in is probably an 80 out of 100, to be honest with you. Because like, even if they spam pallets, you have fast pallet breaking. Even if they like try pull away from you, you've Wax to stun them. So I don't think it's that bad. For Wax Artist himself, there's quite a bit of things to consider. First thing is, he may have no chase, but because of his wax, I kind of consider that as his pursuit in a nutshell, so I'll give him like a 25 out of that. His cipher pressure is also, I'll give his cipher pressure at 30, because like you can blob one area and then blob the other area. So like he can literally just counter 2 ciphers at the same time if the survivor downs near, you know, one of the ciphers that the other survivors are decoding. His map pressure kinda is 0, but his side pressure is up there. His chair cam, I would give him chair cam maybe a 5 out of 100. Cause like, well, I mean, once Presence 2 opens, it'll probably be like a 50 out of 50. It's like a 50-50 case scenario there, but like that's only when he opens phase 2. In which, if you want that early game, you probably need to bring Insolence, in which I wouldn't really suggest bringing Insolence. I think Trump detention with fast pallet breaking isn't too much of a bad idea, or even just like confined space detention with like teleport or something along the lines of that. But overall, for Wax Artist, he works really well on big maps. Cutting tight corners does hurt quite a bit, and tight kiting does hurt sometimes, but like it's not too bad for you to be like, it's not too hard for you to land 100% wax, let's say. Like there are some areas in which you can't land wax and to like play the pallet mine game, but like even if you do get stunned, they get at like 25% wax, in which like if they get 100 and you have like rage or just berserker, not rage and just desperate fight, you can just recover faster and hit them. So for Wax Artist himself, I guess it really depends on your aim. It really does depend on your aim. It's a bit different from Sculptor and Bonbon, because your aim is basically in a straight line and you can just keep changing directions. His wax regen it's not too bad. Honestly, it's not too bad. You just can't spam it for long. Just don't hold it for too long. Make sure you save it at least. So like, now it's just like, we don't want you to like brain dead, just keep holding that button for like 60 seconds, which, you know, understandable. It's very understandable. But per each wax you will land on a survivor, it's 4%, so you need to land like 25 of the wax on a survivor. I don't think it's too bad. Once Presence 1 opens, the Blob Wax basically gives 25% wax, so you know, at the same time, it's not too bad. You know, it's not too bad. And like, your wax can block windows, block ciphers, block pallets. So if you can use it well, you can basically counter Taikai in a nutshell. With survivors with 2-3 items, I would say it's kind of hard to also counter wax in that case scenario, because like it might, like perfumer, you can't do much. Entomologist, you can't do much. Postman can't do much. Barmaid, yeah, that's a whole different story. Acrobat, you can cut tight corners, but you also can't do much. And then you also have like many other survivors, but it really just depends at the end of the day who you're chasing. But you know, it is what it is there. Because like, even if you put a very far distance, you still need to focus on dodging wax, zigzagging, and sometimes wax artists knows this and will zigzag you and then stun you, which is quite funny as well. But yeah, his pursuit isn't too bad. Once you open phase 2, you can lock more things, and like he can get his hot wax for chair camp, which is why I'm gonna put wax art as a part of niche. Now then, next on the tier list we'll be having Naiad. Naiad will also be a part of niche. Naiad will, genuinely speaking, just be a part of niche. We all know why. Listen, we all know why. Naiad herself, she's not a hard character to use. Your harpoon is an 8-second cooldown, and I think the duration of your harpoon is like 8 seconds as well, if I'm not wrong. Please just mark me if I'm wrong. But like for Naiad, the moment you try your harpoon, you get a movement speed boost. Once you take back your harpoon, you make an abyss, in which will kind of lock survivors with tight kiting. To counter Naiad, you need to have window transition, you need to have items as well. But overall, because of the fact that Naiad's harpoon cooldown is only 8 seconds, it doesn't really hurt as much as the Bloody Queen, let's say. For Naiad herself, being able to counter tight kiting is genuinely speaking great, because she can counter quite a bit of survivors like a seer, female dancer, embalmer, prospector, psychologist in general, those type of guys. But also for Naiad, she does have strong pursuit. It slowly goes up as the game goes by. I would say it probably is a 60 to a 90, considering that she has 2 dashes once phase 2 is opened. And also at the same time, right, you need to consider this. A lot of Naiad remains now bring insolence, in which after you get the first sale, you'll have your dash immediately, in which you can catch up to the survivor, and sometimes you don't even have to use blink. That's great and all, but that's, generally speaking, just that. It really depends on you at the end of the day. I would say winning with Naiad is like a 60, and then tying is pretty darn high. I would give it a 70, 80, 75, let's say. For Naiad herself, she does have map pressure. She does have a little bit of cipher control, as long as she can lock the cipher with the harpoon. But honestly, that's about it. Map pressure wise, I would give it probably a 40, and then cipher lock, I will probably give it a 25. I'll be fully honest with you, I'll probably just give it a 25. Because like, if the survivors really wants, they can just decode the cipher machine in there, get out of the puddle before it bursts, or just flywheel the burst. TLDR. Naiad's chair camp, her chair camp early game, I would say it's probably a 20 out of 100, but then late game I would give it like a 60/70 out of 100, but that's only if you get till late game. For Naiad herself, considering, you know, there's a lot of rescuers now, like there's just so many guaranteed rescuers now. TLDR, harass is nerf, rescuer buff. Chair camping is a bit hard, even for single kill hunters, or even for like double chip hunters in general. It is really hard. So there you have it for that. In all honesty, there you have it for that. Naiad herself, she's like a really easy character to pick up, that I would suggest everyone to do so. I really would. Her chair camp really isn't bad. Once you open presence 2, you have 50% moisture, right, per each like dash. If you just land your 2 successful dashes, they can't rescue. In which, you know, for Naiad, even if you have a bad early game, you stop chair camp. So yeah, there's really not much I can say. There has not been that much adjustment made for Naiad. So I think we can we just leave it at that, or should I explain a little bit further? I think I will explain a little bit. No, I won't. There's IVL, Koa, IJL, Naiads you've seen, so I really won't say much. Moving on. Okay, after Naiad we'll have Clerk. Clerk will also be a part of niche. Yeah, Clerk is niche. Clerk is definitely niche. If I want to, I probably will put her on Night Watch Sleepover, but I don't think it's as necessary now. Now, why is that? Clerk A has no pursuit, but once she adds scrolls, she basically has a 100% chance to lock ciphers with invalid. You also do need to have fast hands as well. Selling against a Clerk is basically a no-no. You cannot sell against a Clerk. I think we can all agree on that. But also at the same time, if you do think about it, a Clerk in general, even if you don't have a really good chase early game, you still do have like mid to end game in which you can just continuously lock ciphers and then basically guarantees you a tight end. If a Clerk has a really good early game, it basically guarantees her a win. And since this is rank, she's gonna be a part of Naiad Sleepover. I tricked you guys a little bit there, didn't I? But why am I saying this for a Clerk? Reason number one, Harasser has been highly nerfed. So not a lot of people would prefer to play harassers now. Even if there's a prospector out there, what can he do? Not much, to be honest with you. To counter Clerk, you need to be able to body block. Now in high tier 4-man teams, yes, they're able to do that, but that's only in high tier 4-man teams. Unicorn, they don't know. Listen, they don't know that much. They really don't know that much. Clerk may have like 0 chase, but like 500 games in, you should know how to like basically instant record survivors putting down pallets, etc. And they're like throwing up pallets for yourself and hit the survivors down. Even if you do have a bad early game and by the time that you check the survivor, 3 cipher machine has been done, that's also fine. You can basically permanent lock 1 cipher machine till the end of the day. Because one, you need 1 rescuer to come rescue and the other 2 survivors are out there decoding. Which is why you cannot sell against a Clerk. Even if you want to, you can't. So like if she has a good early game, it basically kind of guarantees her a win. But if she has not that much of a good early game and they kited you 3 ciphers, it's still kind of a guaranteed tied there for you, which is why I'm saying it's a Naiad Sleepover. It's very similar to Dreamwatch. Alright, it's really very similar to Dreamwatch. You also need to consider that if the survivors do decide to body block for tight time, it doesn't really matter. You're perma-locking 1 cipher machine and then like the rescuer basically gets downed. If the survivor does not contain well, because they have no items, right? Then what can you do? You can't really do much. You really can't do much against a Clerk, especially when she has scrolls as well and when she has blink up and ready to go. Because like a strategy of Clerk really is to keep locking the cipher until your trader's ready. So then like, you know, you basically have to contain her for at least like 3.5 ciphers just so you can get like 1 cipher machine done the last ASAP and the last cipher machine just to be there and ready to go. So for a Clerk in general, in rank she's S tier. In tourney she's probably niche, but that's only on the occasion that they don't really have a harasser, or they don't pull away as far from you, which is basically the survivor's mistake at the end of the day there as well. For Clerk, I know people are gonna say no, she's not a part of Naiad Sleepover. I would beg to differ. In rank she's definitely very strong. Is she hard? Yes, she is. Is she similar to Dreamwatch? Yes, she is, because of the whole multitasking shenanigan. But on mobile, you should be able to do it. On PC, it's going to be very hard for you to be able to do anything, but on mobile, you should be able to do it. To be honest with you, a lot of the current day meta survivors aren't harassers anymore. There may be like 1 or 2 oddities, but it won't really affect you too much. Prospector can't do much. Well, I would beg to differ. A forward would do much, but not a lot of survivors play forward now in rank. Who else is there? You could argue Anti-Quarian, but you can just ban her. Listen, you can just ban her. You get 2 bans in rank. Just ban Anti Seer, you're done. Big maps, don't ban Anti, just screw it. YOLO boys, let's YOLO it. But you know, yeah, there's that for Clerk. Okay, moving on. Next on the list should be Hermit. Where's the Hermit? Is here. Okay, I'm gonna still put Hermit on niche, simply because of the fact that really just by countering him, you just need 2 survivors being at 2 survivors being at 1 cipher and just healing each other at the end of the day. You like Hermit's skill sharing is great and all, but like you need to consider the fact that because of this, survivors can kite for a decently long time. If you down a survivor at 3 cipher machines being done, that means there's only 2 cipher machines left that only needs like 60% decoding progress, which is not a lot. Honestly, it's really not a lot. But like on the other hand, you may say, hey, all the survivor has been damaged. It's actually fine. Well, sadly for you, it's actually not fine, since skill damage sharing is still a thing. Even if the rescuer is like after half, even if the rescuer only has half health left, if there's 3 survivors on 1 polarity, then they can still get the rescue. So for Hermit himself, his pursuit is in bad early game. I give it his pursuit is a 40. His cipher pressure is probably like a 50, 60. His map pressure is probably also a 60 as well, considering the fact that after he gains his phase 1, phase 2 presence, he gets a bit stronger. But that's only on the occasion that he lands his oracles properly as well. It's a little bit different to Clerk. At least for Clerk, you can use your scrolls to lock survivors areas. At least you can use your scrolls to like perma lock one cipher endgame. But sadly, in a scenario like this, it's a whole different issue. It genuinely speaking is a whole different issue. For Hermit himself, if you do get an early game, I think just by countering it, having one rescue come to rescue and then start like damage sharing, nothing you can do. Nothing you can do. You also can't say like, oh, you know what, it's okay, I just won't put an orb on the survivor, because all what they're gonna do is they're just gonna kite you or just pallet slam you. So there's nothing much you can do about that, which is very unfortunate. I would say it's quite unfortunate. The chances of survivor rebound kiting is very high against a Hermit, right? Because like one miracle orb is like 8-second cooldown. You need to land 2 on the survivor just to get a hit on them. So like survivors can probably kite for like an extra 10 to 20 seconds after they get rescued, and by the time they do that, I don't know, it really depends as well. And by the time they do that, it's probably already a tie guarantee, even if you have a good early game. I won't really say much for Hermit. There's really not much I can say for Hermit. We all know how he works. Once he makes his connection, it basically like gets spread along with the other ciphers. But because it gets spread along onto the other ciphers, I just feel like it helps the survivor out quite a bit, considering the fact that a lot of characters can kite him as well, if you just think about it. Next on the list will be Night Watch. Night Watch, we all know. Night Watch will just be a part of Night Watch Sleepover. He hasn't got a nerf yet, so he's still just up here. He really still hasn't gotten a nerf yet, so he really still is just up here. Without presence, he's genuinely speaking still just very good. His Tempest, TLDR, counters almost all survivors. Well, in a tight kite scenario, it's really up to the hunter's ability himself, but after you finish using Tempest, you gain a movement speed boost to jump over pallets as well. Of course, as a Night Watch main, you have to be very mindful of how you jump over pallets, but you know, 500 games in, you probably do have enough game sense to realize when I should break pallets, when I should jump over pallets to get a normal free hit. Night Watch is a huge snowball hunter. Genuinely, the moment you get a really good early game, he can dash around the map ASAP like a Geisha, but better than a Geisha. His pursuit, I would say, genuinely speaking, his pursuit is probably like a 70, but his map pressure is a 100 out of 100. You rarely get a 100 out of 100 map pressure because of the fact that once you open phase 2, one Typhoon or Tempest is 2 stacks of dash. Like 3 stacks of dash basically allows you to get from like the one exit gate to like the other exit gauge at Shack, well maybe a little bit closer towards no, at Factory, well maybe towards like one exit gauge towards Shack, maybe there. But like, yeah, he is really strong right now. Apparently he's gonna get a nerf soon. We'll see how that goes. We will be seeing how that goes. But overall for Night Watch, he really is just up there. Because like Typhoon, you can't really body block against it. Tempest, what can I say really? Because even if they get the window speed boost, the moment that Tempest comes in, they can't really pull a far distance away from you. Maybe, right, on the odd chance, like Flywheel does counter, but like it really depends on how well the survivors know their Flywheel, in all honesty with you. But yeah, for Night Watch, he's really part of Night Watch Sleepover. He's very easy to use and he's very strong, especially with his snowball kite. I feel like if he can guarantee ties in IVL, IJL, then he can most likely almost always guarantee wins. Like 70% chance you can win as Night Watch. Well, 70% chance you can tie, maybe 60% you can win as Night Watch. So I'm gonna put Night Watch on Night Watch Sleepover. To be fair, he's already in his own tier. Next will be Sandria. Sandria, the opera singer, she won't be a part of today's tier list. We're just gonna talk about her because I need a little bit of information on her. Sandria herself, I probably will put her on, I won't put her on tier, but let's just talk about it, right? For now, we know that her basic hitbox is 2.78 meters, which is basically 8 centimeters longer than Dream Witch's follower's hitboxing, which is 2.7 meters. Now, why am I saying this? It's so small. It's genuinely speaking quite small. Now you may argue with the fact that Now you may argue with the fact that she has very high chase. Yes, she does have very high chase, but it's still a bit wonky. Take double 11. Take where do we take? You know what? Let's take Godkite, somewhere where we all know. Let's take Godkite in Moonlit, for example. Godkite in Moonlit, there's pallets there, in which if the pallet has not been placed down, as Sandria, you need to dash towards the next wall to be able to get there. Now, Sandria is still a bit wonky as of now, because like the moment you put down pallets, it's not like the shadow realm merges together, so then you can just move along that. If you can just move along that, then fine, I won't have any complaints. But Sandria, even when the pallet places down, you can't move towards the next wall, right? In which this simply means you need to dash towards the next wall. This is very annoying. This is generally speaking very annoying. If you're near a 2 pallet area, Sandra will basically just be forced off stealth mode and break the pallet. TLD or just break the pallet. Now you may also argue, hey, like, you know, does that really matter? Because like she just moves so fast. Well, in a nutshell, yes, it does matter. Because there's a lot of things to consider, right? Sandra has like an 8-second cooldown on her stealth mode. It's basically like Naiad Geisha, but less. There's not that much leeway. You're kind of just forced to break the pallet. Compared to Geisha, you can dash over pallet. Compared to Naiad, you can just go around the pallet, and then Abyss is when the survivor can't use anymore. But then, like, for Sandra, she's kind of forced to get off it. Right, on the off chance for single pallet areas, listen, I understand she doesn't need to get off it. It's not too bad at the end of the day. But like a lot of maps, they have areas in which there's 2 pallets. So then if you just think about it, right, 2 pallets, okay, you're going to be forced off it. But even if there's only single pallet, think about Naiad, think about Geisha, think about BQ. It's literally just one skill ability, dash over the wall, and then you get your guaranteed normal hit. But for Sandria, it's a little bit more troublesome because you kind of have to jump over. You have to jump to the next stealth area because it doesn't merge, question mark. So like that's my first complaint on Sandria. Yes, listen, yes, she is strong. Yes, she did deserve the 60% movement speed boost to 55%. I don't disagree with you on that. But if they do decide to buff Sandria, in which the moment survivor puts down pallets emerges, I would say they will have to merge the, I think it's the skill 2, the shadow realm thing, in which she can immediately teleport to the shadow, teleport back to the shadow realm. They will have to nerf back if they buff Sandria skill 1. End of the day, that's how I can see it, that it's balanced, right? That's the only reason how I can see it is balanced. Maybe I just don't understand Sandria's teleport, but I feel like per each dash she gets a thing out there for like 8 seconds if I'm not wrong. Considering Sandria's movement speed boost, she dashes towards the wall, look for the rescuer, gets hit on a rescuer, immediately teleports back. What can the rescuer do? Nothing. Right? To be fair with you, that's a bit annoying. You may argue, hey, it's very similar to Nightwatch. Listen, at least for Nightwatch, he doesn't really have that much of a movement speed boost early game. Right? For Sandra, she has movement speed boost early game, so like it kind of counters. It kind of like there's no rebuttal on that if you want to like make the same argument for Nightwatch. Nightwatch does not have that. Nightwatch, genuinely speaking, does not have that. Right? Because like at least still for Nightwatch, you need to get a hit and then you should dash back. But like for Sandra, you get a hit, you immediately teleport back with like nothing. That's really unfair. I think that is really unfair on a personal level. So like if they really do buff Sandria, I would say they will have to like nerf the teleportation back with the other shadows that she has, right? Like I would even say it's not even nerf, it's an adjustment. But if they really do adjust that, Sandria, I'll put her on niche. For the sake of it, I'll put her on niche, because like after she gets out of stealth, she can dash out. I think that's pretty strong. Of course, you may say, some hunter mains would say, oh, I just kite her in the open area. Well, yeah, I mean, Patient probably can do that, but you know, even if you do kite her in an open area, after Sandria gets out of stealth mode, Patient will be forced to use Hook, and then Sandria will just go back into stealth form. So you know, it's kind of quite an even exchange, very similar to like Naiad for this instance, or Geisha or BQ. But because of how wonky the goddamn stealth realm is, I will put on doable hard. But you know, you're just not gonna see it here. You're just not gonna see it here. Overall for Sandria, I still do need a little bit more info on her, but that's really all my complaints for her. She's not that much of a bad hunter, it's just a little bit wonky on the stealth realm. Honestly, it really is just a little bit wonky on the stealth realm. Then for the survivor mains who are here and who want a rebuttal saying that she's OP, listen, you said the same. You guys literally said the same for Nightwatch when he came out. You guys said the same for like I don't know, you guys said the same for Naiad when she came out. And then you learned how to kite them and you're like, oh no, they're not that hard. We don't have to ban them anymore. Yeah, there you go. You're welcome. So like, it'll just take time for you guys Survivor mains to learn how to counter her. And it'll also take time for Hunter's main to learn her. So overall, I think just think about it as a learning experience for all of us. If we see Nai watching IVL as well, like everyone think he was OP, he's only getting ties. He's basically guaranteed tying, sometimes losing, sometimes winning. Depends on the player and the player mistakes mainly. But like in contrast, if you're on the same level, it's kind of the same thing. But yep, that's going to be the end of season 27 100 tier list. That's all what you're gonna get from me, Kuroshiro. But of course, I'm gonna keep the ending a little bit short because I've been recording this for like 2 hours, 3 hours. I don't know why I'm dying. But of course, if you learned something new, why not drop me the like button? Hey, if you're here, why not subscribe? I don't do this often. Lol, I stream sometimes, I don't do this often. I commentate IVL most of the time now because of work. But if you have any rebels, comments are down below. I will read all of it. I genuinely just read all the comments. I don't really heart much of it, but I will read all of it. I do. I don't know why I do that. But of course, that's gonna be all you're gonna get from me today. I will see y'all on the next one. Bye-bye.